This video is brought to you by SoccerPro.com, bringing you everyday low prices with no membership fees. Be sure to use coupon code SR4U at checkout to receive $10 off any order of $100 or more. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the Soft Ground Pro Nike Magista Obra in the turquoise blue Lightning Storm colorway. Now inside the box, because this is a Soft Ground Pro version of the shoe, you get a couple of extras that you wouldn't normally get with the firm ground variation. The first thing you get is a stud wrench for the removable metal studs. You need to tighten them or remove them. This is the tool that you use. They also include an extra set of studs. These ones are 13 and 15 millimeters in length that are 2 millimeters longer in both the forefoot and the heel than the 11 and 13 millimeter set already included on the shoe. So you'd use those if the ground is particularly soft. Other than that, they do of course include a string bag, which you would normally get. It's turquoise blue in color, as well as the strings. On the one side, you're gonna find a black Nike swoosh, and on the opposite side, you're gonna find your black Nike football branding. Other than that, all you're gonna find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at the Lightning Storm colorway of the Nike Magista Obra. Now in today's video, we are of course going to take a detailed look at the colorway itself, talk tech specs, talk about the weight, as well as talk about how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more about this particular colorway of the Magista Obra, please stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can check out the very first link down below in the description of this video. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's take a closer look at the colorway itself. Now, of course, this is part of the Lightning Storm pack from Nike, which is supposed to consist of one main base color that's very bright with black accents. In the case of the Nike Magista Obra, as you guys can probably tell, there's quite a few different shades of blue. The main base color is listed as turquoise blue, but as you guys can very clearly see, the sole plate is a different shade of blue than this part of the upper, which is a different shade of blue than this part of the upper, which is a different shade of blue than the laces and the Flyknit collar. So you have a lot of different shades of blue happening all on one single upper and sole plate, which doesn't necessarily look bad, but it doesn't have that same kind of consistent solid color across the entire upper like you're gonna find from the rest of the shoes in the Lightning Storm pack. Now, what I like about this particular colorway is not necessarily that the colors don't match, but I like that they did feature a clear Nike Skin top layer on the Obra itself. I really like when they do that. You get to see all the black accenting in the actual Flyknit weave itself, as well as a combination of different colors in the blue portion. So you can see that when you have that clear Nike Skin covering over top, it makes it look a lot darker than the kind of Flyknit material itself actually is. That's what it looks like when it's covered. That's what it looks like when it's uncovered. So that's kind of cool in itself. It really shows off the knitted design of this particular shoe. And then of course you do have the solid Nike Skin in the form of the inside of the Nike swoosh, as well as the kind of border of the sole plate and heel, which looks pretty cool in my opinion. It's got somewhat of a kind of pearlescent shine to it, which you don't really see in the online pictures, but it is noticeable in person. You have the black ring at the top of the collar. Again, the laces and the exposed Flyknit are kind of like a combination of a darker blue and a lighter blue all in one. That looks really, really cool. And then the sole plate is more of like a greenish turquoise color as opposed to more of a blue shade that you find with the rest of the shoe. So it doesn't match quite that well, but it still looks pretty good in my opinion. And this being the Soft Ground Pro variation of the shoe, some of the studs are clear tips with kind of like a light green on the inside. And then for some reason they used metallic silver studs as opposed to having that anodized blue color that we have seen on several shoes from Nike in the past. Those would have looked really good on this particular colorway in my opinion, but as you guys can see, they opted for just shiny silver as opposed to that anodized blue. So not a big deal. You're not really going to notice it at the end of the day while you're wearing them anyways, but nonetheless, pretty cool looking colorway. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the tech specs so we can learn a little bit more about the overall performance. In terms of performance, I'm a big fan of the Magista Obra. The one question I get a lot is which is my favorite of the three mid-cut Flyknit models from Nike? And my answer to that question is the Magista Obra. If you're actually trying to decide on which of the three is best for yourself, I do have a video comparing all three models, so I'll leave an annotation on screen to that. But the reason why I prefer the Magista Obra personally is just because I like that it has a slightly softer upper and one that's not quite as thin as the other two that I mentioned, the Superfly 4 and the Hypervenom Phantom. It just has a more padded sensation both on foot as well as on the ball, which is what I find more comfortable personally. But again, it's really a matter of personal preference, and if you're trying to decide, that video annotated on screen should help you out. So go ahead and check that out. Now, in regards to what this shoe is all about, obviously you're getting a one-piece Flyknit upper, more structured Flyknit in all the areas here that have kind of this interesting black pattern. So the majority of the kind of main part that covers your foot, whereas the top of the foot where the laces are situated as well as the collar is an elasticated variety of Flyknit that's not quite as structured. So the structured area is thin, but it does have a padded liner on the inside that does add a fair amount of thickness. And again, in comparison to the Superfly 4's Flyknit upper, this is significantly thicker and significantly more structured, more dense, I guess is the best way to put it. Because of this pattern, there is some texturing to the upper that's not super noticeable in the online pictures, but is very noticeable when the shoes are in your hands and you run your finger along them. Does that texture really add anything to the overall feel? I would argue that it doesn't, but it definitely does have a premium vibe when you hold the shoe in your hands. In regards to that Nike Skin covering, that's there just to provide a little bit of additional grip on the ball, but really isn't anything special in regards to modifying the feel. Really what this shoe provides is a touch on the ball that is thin, but with that slight amount of padding that you wouldn't otherwise have. So it kind of just takes the edge off. But like I said, for the most part, this is still a relatively thin shoe. So if that's what you're looking for, that's exactly what you get with the Obra. I would say that out of all the mid-cut models from Nike, this shoe has the most sock-like sensation in terms of its thickness, as well as its kind of softness and flexibility. Now, a modifier to the upper is, of course, the Brio cables that run from the base of the sole into the lacing system. You can't really see them because they're hidden within the actual pattern of the Flyknit itself, but they really do have a big impact when you pull the laces tight in terms of securing your foot, locking it in place, and not preventing it from sliding side to side when you're running or making quick cuts and lateral turns, stuff like that. Really does a good job of keeping your foot locked in place, and the responsive sensation you get from the Obra and really all the Flyknit models from Nike is very, very impressive. And then of course, rounding out the upper, you're gonna find ACC, all conditions control, as a feature, acting as your wet control element in wet weather playing conditions, which you're gonna get with any top end model from Nike. The laces are in the middle, but slightly pushed to the medial side, as you guys can see, which I actually find to be quite comfortable when you're wearing the shoes. The center part is an elasticated Flyknit, so you'll find that it stretches when you put them on, and then kind of compresses once you are kind of finished putting them on. So it has a nice snug fit, wraps your foot really nicely even prior to tying the laces tight. And then of course you have the mid-cut dynamic fit collar that is interesting looking. Doesn't really have any performance benefits despite what a lot of people may believe. There's no ankle support here. It's essentially just a sock extension to what is a standard low-cut soccer shoe. It's elasticated, it's got some decent thickness to it, no restrictiveness, so it's not going to make your ankle feel like it can't move freely in any way at all. It'll feel a little bit weird at first if you haven't worn a mid-cut model from Nike before, but once you get used to it, it's something that you kind of forget about entirely. The main reason why it's there is one, to look cool and distinctive, I guess is the best way to put it, and two, to give you more of a seamless sensation where it feels like the shoe flows onto your foot as opposed to something that's being strapped to your foot, kind of like a sock would feel. In regards to the inside, it does have a synthetic leather liner with a decent amount of padding that is comfortable enough, but does take some getting used to in regards to just breaking them in. The insole is fully removable. It features a mesh liner on top, perforations throughout, and it's made from a single layer of this yellow foam material. Nothing too fancy, but it does get the job done. And then of course you do have your external heel counter that is one piece to the sole plate. The sole plate's made from a compressed nylon material that has some decent stiffness to it, especially at first, which will be somewhat noticeable when you start wearing the shoes, but it does become more flexible over time, so nothing to be too concerned about. And then of course this is the Soft Ground Pro variation, so you're going to find 6 total removable screw-in metal studs, 2 in the heel and 4 in the forefoot, so your standard 6-stud layout like you'd find for pretty much any soft ground shoe, but it's also a mixed sole, so you're going to find some plastic molded studs that you would find normally on a firm ground shoe. So 2 of those in the heel, 2 of those at the base of the forefoot, none in the middle, 1 at the top tip of the toe, and then you're going to find these 2 little bladed extension pieces at the tip of the toe as well that really don't serve much of a purpose in terms of overall traction in a soft ground type of environment, in my opinion. So what type of stud pattern is this for, or who should be buying this particular type of stud pattern? Somebody who's playing on soft ground regularly. So that means natural grass that's very soft, generally very wet, puddles, mud, stuff like that, where a firm ground shoe will work, but isn't necessarily going to provide optimal traction because you don't have enough depth or length to the studs. That's why they include this set, which is kind of an average length for soft ground shoes. And then they include that extra set, which is a little bit longer. So if the ground is particularly soft, you have that extra length to the studs. So you're getting as much grip as possible in a type of environment where the ground is very soft and grip is kind of at a minimum, unless you have very, very long studs under your feet. So that's really what Soft Ground Pro stud patterns are for. A lot of people buy these kind of mistaking them as like a hybrid type of stud pattern, thinking that they can use these on firm ground, something I would not recommend. A lot of people even buy these to try and use them on artificial grass, which I would very strongly recommend against. Even if you're replacing these studs with plastic ones, that doesn't change anything. The screw-in points are much more fragile than you think they'd be. And again, this is a shoe that's really designed to be used on soft ground, where these screw-in points are not seeing really hard impacts. Not only is that going to damage the shoe prematurely, it's also going to cause issues with stud pressure. So again, unless you're playing on soft ground, I would not recommend buying a pair of soft ground shoes. So just keep that in mind if you perhaps were planning on picking these up and don't regularly play in soft ground environments. So that's pretty much it as far as tech specs and what you should know regarding the performance of the shoe. If you guys do want more details, you can check out the written review on my website. That'll be linked down below in the description of this video. And I'll also leave annotations on screen to my playtest video, as well as my traction test video of the Obra, so you can see the shoes in action if that's something that you're interested in. So with that being said, let's move on to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. In terms of weight, I think a lot of people don't realize that the soft ground version of a shoe is always going to weigh more than the firm ground variation, and I'll explain why in just a second. But for the sake of this video, we're going to weigh these right now. Keep in mind this is a brand new pair in a size 9.5 US. Again, the Soft Ground Pro variation. We're going to throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.6 ounces, the equivalent of 243 grams. Now, normally a firm ground pair of Obras in the exact same size weighs in right around the 7 to 7.2 ounce mark. So these are about 1.5 ounces heavier than the firm ground variation. The reason for that is because in order to have the screw-in points on the sole plate, 1, the sole plate has to be a little bit thicker, and 2, you actually have to have metal components to the sole plate itself, both for the studs as well as screw-in points for the studs, which, like I said, does add a fairly significant amount of weight. With that being said, even at 8.6 ounces, the Soft Ground Pro variation of the Obra is by no means heavy, but it certainly isn't as light as the firm ground variation. With that said, if you're playing on soft ground frequently and you need soft ground shoes in order to have optimal traction, then you really shouldn't be too concerned about the weight. You should be more concerned about what shoe you want, and if that shoe is the Obra, don't let the extra weight in comparison to the firm ground shoe deter you from buying it in the first place. So for a soft ground shoe, honestly, 8.6 ounces is pretty lightweight, and that's really what you should be taking away from this particular part of the video. They're light as far as soft ground shoes go, but certainly not as light as the firm ground version. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so here is a look at the Lightning Storm Magista Obras on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock blue laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of light blue with black dots SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, be sure to check out the website www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they're fairly comfortable from right out of the box. If you haven't worn a mid-cut shoe from Nike before, they'll feel a little bit strange in the ankle and heel area. That just takes some getting used to, but as long as you take things slow, you shouldn't have any major issues with discomfort or blistering. You're only going to run into blisters if you try to wear these things straight into a game or straight into a free kick session or something that really is kind of high intensity. If you go really slow and take them off as soon as you feel discomfort and continue to do that until they feel comfortable for an entire session, again, you're not going to have any issues with blistering or just major discomfort in general. They just take some getting used to because they do fit a little bit different in that area of the foot.
The rest of the foot feels really good. The Flyknit upper is soft, it's flexible, and it does have, like I said, the most sock-like sensation of all the mid-cut models from Nike, in my opinion. You got that padded liner on the inside, they're flexible, the Brio cables as well as the structure of the upper hug your foot really nicely when you pull the laces tight, and again, they maintain a good level of comfort overall. In regards to the fit, it is a tighter fitting shoe, but definitely not as tight as what you're going to find with the Phantom 2 or Superfly 4 if you're comparing it to those other models. With that said, it still isn't a significantly wide shoe, and they certainly aren't going to stretch either. The way they fit from right out of the box is the way they're going to fit for their entire lifespan. So if you do have excessively wide feet, you normally need your shoes to stretch in order to fit you comfortably, maybe not the best option for you. In regards to sizing, the Magista line runs about a half size small, so instead of wearing my usual size 9 US, I bumped it up to a 9.5, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going a half size up in order to achieve the best possible fit. Alright guys, that is it for my review of the Soft Ground Pro Lightning Storm Nike Magista Obra. Again, if you guys are looking for more details on the fit, feel, and performance, be sure to check out the written review on my website. That'll be the first link down below in the description of this video. Also on that page, you will find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you guys have any questions at all regarding the Magista Obra, leave them down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.